So this is worth commenting on. I'll put this in the write-up, I think. So what I've actually done here is created like a ratcheted sound for the snare drum, but I'm using the Logic drum synth to just generate the MIDI, so it's nice and quick. You can hear it here. So just on quarter notes, eighths, 16, and then 24, 32, 48, 64, you know, divisions of the bar. So there we go. So I don't know exactly how much of this I'm going to use. I'm just really making the content. And then what I'm doing here is using the practical snare drum synthesis from this, this tutorial from Sound on Sound. And it's, it's pretty straightforward. The snare drum sound generator here, it's a noise generator with a low pass filter, band reject filter, a VCA, and then an AR contour. And I've got all of these modules here. I've got a glide and noise here, so I can just use that as a white noise, and that's going to be the basis for the snare sound, and then it's going to go into the ladder filter here, and then I can go into either streams or tides, or even rings as a filter. It won't get me an exact replica of a 808-909 type snare, but I don't really need that for this project. I've got quite a few LFOs here, so the quad LFO, that LFO, I've got a Cascade VCA and a contour generator. So I'm hoping with all of those, I'll be able to pull a sound that sounds pretty similar to a snare drum. And if I can't, then I'm going to pull some of this as a digital waveguide. I can use that as a modulation source and then just pitch it down, and that should work really well, and then just trigger that off Veils. So it's pretty advanced stuff to do something that is fairly simple. There are lots of snare drum modules that would potentially work here. Or I could, if I had more freedom in the brief, I could use the DFAM to get a snare type sound, but I'm not using that as part of my mono synth. Part of my synthesizer. My synthesizer is effectively a noise source, and then a complex modulator in plats, and rings as a resonator, and then these VCOs here, which do quite a lot. I've got sawtooth, triangle, and square wave there. Shark tooth as well. Sorry, so sawtooth, shark tooth, square wave, and triangle, and that gets me quite a lot of the sounds. And then a lot of this is being processed through the various effects units. You can see me going through clouds here already, but there's quite a lot of delays and interesting effects that can be modulated. So Rainmaker here is quite interesting as a sound. And then I've got a pair of 4MS looping delays, which are very, very interesting. But actually a lot of it just comes from rings. They're such a good sound, either as an oscillator or as just a processor, like a resonator. So I sort of think of that out of the, think of rings as being not the oscillator of the synthesizer. That's mostly coming from as I said, plats, the AJH, and a bit of Mistron. So yeah, that's the approach I'm taking here. Another thing that's worth mentioning, the joystick. The joystick is amazing because I've got that X and Y axis, and then I've got a Z axis on a tilt. So I can be doing things here like this, and then if I want a bit more of something else, I can twist. And it also does X and minus X. So as I go full there with one control, it's interpreting it as being there in another control, on another parameter. So you can do some pretty crazy stuff. And then you've got a gate here as well. Oh, sorry, I should have said that. Gate here as well. So if I press that, you can see. So I can actually fire things that way. Send gate information to sequences or gate information to anything. It's pretty powerful. So this is a monosynth, and the thing to remember is this is a monosynth. I'm only able to send a single note at once to it. I'm not treating the whole thing as a monosynth. Effectively, I've patched up Platts as a complex oscillator, then some simple oscillators from here. And if you think of how you would approach, say I was using a sub 37 here, you can't really see, because the light's on it. But effectively, this is a 2 oscillator synthesizer with an LFO and then a lot of modulation. Well, this gives me pretty much the same thing, a couple of oscillators, and then using these in their low frequency range as LFOs. And I've got some other LFOs here as well. There's an awful lot of capability beyond what you can get with a regular monosynth. But the whole reason for me using the modular is to get as much mileage out of the single synth capability, and that is a requirement of the brief, and that's why I'm using it.